Hi, everybody, and welcome to our inaugural edition of St. Margaret Mary, Where Are They Now? We thought during this time of quarantine where people are home and uh, scouring Facebook and wondering and being nostalgic, we thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to reconnect with those who have been in our parish who we don't see so often anymore, priests, deacons, religious, former parishioners that have passed through the parish over the years. And we have a great lineup for you in this series, and we hope you all enjoy it. And we have a dynamic first guest, and of course we would have to start with Father Ricky, and to introduce us and be our moderator this morning is none other than Mike Molina.
Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us. And Father Ricky Viveros, thank you for joining us as our first guest, the pilot episode. As Matt said, we couldn't have thought of a better person to begin the series with.
I feel like I'm in fourth grade and it's geography baseball over.
I know it takes us right back, and we'll talk about that in a bit, Ricky. That's for sure. So it's true that in the 70 years, this year, our parish school celebrates its 70th anniversary. We opened in 1950. And in the 70 years of our parish school's history, we have ordained one priest of our alumni, and that is Father Ricky Viveros, who became a priest 11 years ago. And we'll talk
12 years ago, Mr.
12 years ago. Amazing how time
2008. Crazy,
ago.
huh?
That is crazy. Didn't we just celebrate your 10th anniversary? That was 2 years ago already.
It was. So May 31st, 2008.
How could we forget, Ricky? You remind us all the time.
It was a great day.
Well, I do remind you all the time.
Yes.
That's what's great
Ricky,
about social media.
Thank you very much for joining us and
My
for
pleasure.
spending some time with us today as we talk a little bit about the ongoing, the lasting impact of St. Margaret Mary Parish on so many people's lives. And let's bring you back again. You've mentioned fourth grade, where you and I first encountered each other when I was teaching your class geography.
Yes.
Some great memories back in those days. I know you were born and raised in another parish next door, but we won't talk about that. But at a young age, your family moved to Harbor City, the home of the Gauchos.
What do you mean born and raised in another parish next door? That's fake news, Mike.
But you somehow Harbor City won out in the Viveros family, and you.
Well, I was baptized at St. Peter Paul Wilmington, and but from the age of like 3, I've always gone to St. Margaret Mary.
Super.
Actually, my Aunt Kathy and my Auntie Diane that kept telling my mom about St. Margaret Mary and what a wonderful parish it was. And they kept saying, you're going to love their pastor, Father Joe Sartoris. And the first time my mom walked in, she knew it was their new home. So
that's a great story. I didn't know that. Thank you, Auntie Kathy and Auntie Diane. That's for sure.
And my Auntie Kathy's still sitting in that pew every Sunday at 8 a.m., I'm sure. Does she still go to Hottentot?
Yes. Well, when we were able to go out, she and Uncle Dave are at 8 a.m. Mass, and at Hottentot, usually with someone at their table, whether it's Alice or somebody else. They continued the tradition. Can't wait.
And I was in the PM kindergarten class, with Sean Gibson. She was my kindergarten teacher. So,
oh, yes.
And I was at St. Margaret Mary School for all 9 A through 8. So
let's talk about St. Margaret Mary School. What are your earliest memories of the school, and what are the most lasting memories of those 9 years you spent there?
My earliest memory of the school was actually that Christmas concert. Remember, Mrs. Farrer used to put on those big Christmas pageants?
Sure.
I just remember having to dress as a Christmas present, and I wasn't very happy about that. I was in But my best memories are with actually the teachers. We were Mrs. McKenna's very first class, first grade. We had Jean McKenna. And then I had Mrs. Diekman, second grade. And third grade, it was Miss Ramirez. And then we had Miss Hughes, Katie Ramos, Amores, and then you broke our heart, Mr. Molina, and you left right before we got into junior. My class isn't quite over that yet. I just want to mention that. And then we had Pat Black, Dodd Still, and Marianne Mitchell. So, to this day, I still text some of my classmates, not all of them, trust me, but some of my classmates I text regularly. And it's always good to reconnect with them. St. Margaret Mary School, so many great memories. You know, the hot lunch ladies with the sloppy joes, and you know, it was really, that's where my vocation to the priesthood started, was at the school. So
In what way? In what way, Ricky?
it was the presence of the priest, particularly when I was in middle school with Father Ed Dover. He was such a visible presence on our campus, and he treated us like human beings, and he was so approachable. And I just remember thinking that priest is he's a normal dude, you know, and but he's doing such amazing things, and that really stuck with me, the impact of the priest on my life. Father Ed in a special way, and of course Bishop Sartoris is my pastor. You know, he's still my hero to this day. So great priest there.
You mentioned your class. You know, as you know now, Ricky, being a pastor of a parish where there's a school,
Mm-hmm.
every 3 or 4 years there's a special class, right? And all the classes are special, but then you get to a year that the class gels and there's this
Mhm.
great feeling of camaraderie among your class. And even to this day, I think back to your class, and that was that kind of a class. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised at all that you do communicate with them. You've told me that you've had reunions of your class.
Oh yeah, and they're all, and a lot of them are watching me do Mass now on the internet on Sunday. So it's kind of funny. And one of them last Sunday, Andrew Lasaka texted me. Do you remember Andrew?
Absolutely, of course.
He goes, I still can't believe you're a priest. You were such a bully to me growing up. He goes, look at you up there preaching, you know, but it was just kind of funny how we've all grown up. And I still text Laura De Leon, Nicole Bencovo, you know, Tony Rios. But when I see them, it's like, you know, I've been able to do a couple of their kids' baptisms, which has been really, really cool, you know. So it's nice to stay connected with them. But our class was definitely very energetic, to put it mildly. You know, we had a lot of personality. We were always the last class that was allowed to load the bus for Knott's Berry Farm. And Doug Earhart would, you know, have to sit on the bus because he was a little afraid of, you know, our hyper personalities there.
So then you went on to became a Bishop Montgomery Knight, and after Bishop Montgomery, you went to Cal State Long Beach, and you moonlighted at the Disney store and
Of
sold.
course.
Disney
Thank you for
stuff.
calling the Disney Store Delamo. This is Ricky. How may I help you?
Remember those days? And then I
Yes.
remember getting a call from Cookie and Dough, my aunts. And
Oh
they
yes, the
said,
famous cookie and dough.
yeah, we have a secret. Someone's going into the seminary, and you'll find out soon. And I know it was important for you to share with them and with the people close to you that you were discerning, and then you finally made the decision.
Your aunts were the very first people I told, because, you know, as you know, my family has always been very close to your family. And Cookie and Dough prayed so much for my brother when he was younger and so sick. And my mom is very close to them. And as you know, my grandmother adored them. And I asked them to pray for me. And of course, you know, they already started crying like I was already a priest. I told you, Mr. Molina, it was on Good Friday of 2001. I told you, I think, you know, I wanted to be a priest, but I think probably Father Ed Dover had already told you, because he didn't look surprised at all. There's no secrets on the corner of 255th and Esselman Avenue.
No, none at all. But give us a little glimpse of that discernment, Ricky. What were you going through in your years in college that led you to that kind of a decision?
Yeah, I remember it vividly. I actually felt the very first time of the call to the priesthood at St. Margaret Mary Church. I'll never forget it. I went into the church because I was praying, do I want to teach high school, middle school, or elementary school? And I remember I was sitting there and a man approached me and asked me if I was a priest. And I told him, no, I'm definitely not a priest. And he said, well, too bad, because I could go to confession to you right now. And for some reason, that really, really stood in my mind. And God really uses who you are to reach out to you. So anybody who knows me knows I'm very sarcastic. So it was funny. In the next 6 months, I had many people come up to me saying, have you ever considered being a priest? You know, and God uses who you are to touch your heart. It wasn't anything dramatic or anything. It was just people started coming up to me. So that's when I literally went to Holy Thursday Mass. I always went to Holy Thursday Mass. And now looking back, hello, that's the night Jesus instituted the priesthood, right? And I remember I made a deal with God. You know, we always make those deals with God, right? Just show me what you want for me. And I told Jesus before Mass, if you want me to discern the priesthood, let me know tonight. And the whole homily that night was about how we need more priests. And I just thought, man, I should have went to Spires with my dad instead, you know. It's like, really? You know, and then that Monday, I called the vocation office, and I probably hung up on him about 80 times. Father Dick Martini still laughs about that. And I got so scared to meet with them that I lied and made up a story that I couldn't meet with them. And then they called me back, and I went. And by the fall of 2002, I was already at St. John's Seminary. It was crazy. So it was a year of discernment. It wasn't too long. So
I'm curious to know, when you were at St. John's, and I'm sure while you were at St. John's Seminary, there were highs and lows, right? There were moments of great joys and moments of loneliness and what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I hope you know, which I'm sure you do, that you had legions of people praying for you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Was that a constant reminder? Did you know that you had so many people supporting you and praying for you from the parish? 2
specific groups, and I know they still pray for me to this day. My mom's guild, Our Lady of the Rosary Guild, they would always send something every month, either it was a care package or just a card. And you know, I still get something from Teresa Visalia at least twice a year. You know, she's such a thoughtful lady. And of course, the Holy Name Society, you know, Holy Name went above and beyond. And to this day, some Holy Name guys are still in contact with me. And I remember on a pilgrimage, I got to fly. I was sitting next to Matt's grandpa, and he kept saying, anything you need, I'll go over there and build it, you know, and we'll get the Holy Name guys. So those 2 groups in particular are very, very special to me. But it was, you know, but maybe we'll talk about this later, but I remember my first Mass at St. Margaret Mary. It was a realization that this had nothing to do with me. It was really about the parish and the excitement that the people felt that day. You know,
that was my next. It's funny. That was my next question. So you're ordained, and the next morning at the 9:30 Mass, you celebrate your first Mass. And really, I've been involved in thousands of liturgies at that parish, and I would put your first Mass certainly in the top 3 of memorable celebrations that I was involved in that church building. It was such a wonderful moment of Thanksgiving and of community.
Yeah,
I remember. Besides the great music, Ricky, what do you remember of that moment?
I remember. Well, we have to backtrack to the night before. Remember, I had that great reception at the Portugal restaurant. Missed that place, by the way. And I remember about 9 o'clock, I started getting a little bit nervous because it was like, oh my gosh, I have to do Mass for the very first time the next morning. So after the reception ended, I went home and I went to sleep right away. But I remember I woke up and I was in the zone. And I actually got to the church about 8:30 and was just waiting for the 8 o'clock Mass to empty. And I realized that there wasn't that many people at the 8 o'clock Mass. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And I thought, oh boy, this is gonna be big. And I remember you, Mr. Molina, and I think probably Matt Johnson, because you know Matt gets involved in everything. I think I was put in the, what is that called? The work sacristy, right?
The flower room. The flower room.
The flower room. You locked me in the flower room for about 45 minutes, which I thank you for because I had to be in the zone, you know. And I remember my cousin Natalie was making her first Holy Communion. So the agreement was, Natalie, we need to take a picture before Mass. So, I mean, how many photos do we all have of that beautiful Sacred Heart statue, right? So I took a picture, and I remember walking to the church, and there were about 300 people outside. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'll never forget when I walked in and I saw the Holy Name Honor Guard and the excitement of the people. And I remember, I'll never forget that feeling. And, you know, I've been kind of known to have a personality, can work a crowd, if you know what I mean. So I remember my opening line was, it was good to be home. You remember that?
I remember that.
It's just so exciting for the people. And
Ricky, we've always said that your lifelong ambition is a Daytime Emmy Award. So it was
That's true. That's true. You remember we were coming home from Knott's, and I was like, is the bus going to get home? Because I think this is Susan Lucci's year. And the bus, thank God, got us home in time. And she didn't win that year anyway. But
But back to your story. So
yeah,
it was a great weekend. I remember Teresa and I were in charge of Cookie and Dough. We picked them up for your ordination bright and early because Cookie wanted to be there super early.
Right.
And I still remember, God bless them, walking out of their house on Clearpool Place. They were already crying, walking to the car.
I'm sure.
I was with you guys. I remember holding the door, and Cookie was wiping her tears away as she was getting in the car.
Yeah.
It was a
8
great
o'clock in the morning.
It was a great weekend for the Viveroses, for sure, for you, for the church, but it really was a great weekend for the parish.
No, I agree. It was totally about the parish. And I remember when I got to the altar, remember you guys sang that beautiful litany of the saints, and then we included some parishioners that had died, you know.
It was your dad's idea, as I recall.
Yeah. He still calls it the litany of the churches, but we'll get into that in another episode. But I remember when I got to the altar, that's when you guys sang my grandparents' names. And I really was missing my dad's parents, so it was really special that they were there, you know.
That's something. It was a great weekend. Then you move on to assignments, right? You're assigned to the Valley, San Fernando Valley, and then to the San Gabriel Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Two very interesting assignments, again, with their highs and their lows.
Yes.
And you've been very public about that. That, you know, priesthood is a life full of people, but many times it can be a lonely time too.
Sure,
and,
absolutely.
Again, we hope that you know that our prayers have continued with you, and it's great to celebrate at the high times, but it's also always important to remember that we're there with you during the dark times as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's something, you know, Mike, you've become a very good friend to me. So it's really, I mean, you not only were my teacher, but, you know, in our own friendship, you know, we've talked about that. Same with you, Matt, you know, that you really learn who your friends are through the, you know, in tragedy and sorrow, you know, we're always supporting each other. And that's what St. Margaret Mary has, this loyalty that a lot of, you know, there's something special about our parish, you know, that people stand by each other. And when you need somebody, they're going to show up, you know.
That's absolutely true.
In fact, my webmaster laughs because, you know, we have about, sorry, I know, Matt, you're streaming, but we have people from Lomita and Torrance watching my mass every Sunday. So it's like, you know, that connection we all have still.
And now you've been a pastor for a number of years at Holy Trinity in Atwater Village, a great community, just in the shadow of downtown Los Angeles and Dodger Stadium. And you have a great community there that you serve, as well as a school that you serve. The school's led by another Bishop Montgomery graduate, as I recall, your principal.
Yes, she is. Karen Lloyd, yes.
That's wonderful.
But we'll forgive her for that one.
I'm interested to know, Ricky, what qualities you have as a pastor do you think can you attribute to your St. Margaret Mary experience?
Oh, yeah. Ministry of presence, without a doubt. Bishop Sartoris, I mean, every Sunday he was so visible, right? And I remember when I became a pastor, he wrote me a letter. I save all the letters the man writes me. He said, make sure you're present on Sunday. Shake hands every Sunday, right? As I often joke, when you go to Disneyland, you want to see Mickey. So when you come to the parish, you better see your priest, right? Ministry of presence and trusting the people. You know, God's people have the talents and gifts that they have. So I remember St. Margaret Mary has such strong lay leadership. So that's always something I remember that my priest did growing up, was to find out who in your community, what they're good at, and invite them. And that personal touch is so important. You know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any last words, Ricky, to your parishioners at St. Margaret Mary Parish? Last thoughts that you want to give us?
Yeah, I just want to thank all of you guys for the profound influence you've had in my life. You know, I haven't, I've been gone for 12 years, but every time I drive by the church, it still feels like home. It will always be home to me. And just know that, especially during this difficult time, that God is with us, and continue to rely on your beautiful parish family. And St. Margaret Mary is going to be a better parish for it. And I look forward to returning for the fair in 2021, right? So I'll make a special guest appearance. So you heard it here live. So Mrs. Visalia will be happy because she still gets mad at me because I don't go. So
I always look forward to you working the taco booth, Ricky, because your family has a history with that booth.
Well, Matt, if you, the taco booth definitely, but I think I've retired from that, to be quite honest. I mean, honest to God, can I just be in the, sitting there and with Mr. Molina commentating on everything?
Holding court, yes.
Yeah, we look forward to returning in 2021. Well, Ricky, thank you very much for being our first guest and spending some time with us. I know the people at St. Margaret Mary continue to think of you, love you, ask about you all the time. And I'll always say, well, he's just down the road on the 110 freeway. Go visit him. So hopefully when we go back and we're able to celebrate again inside churches, you'll see some of us pop into Atwater Village and visit you, and head over to the Tam O'Shanter for lunch after.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, thank you, Ricky. Thanks for being our first guest. You're the best.
Thank you.
Diocese needs more priests like you, that's for sure. And we're just thrilled that you are ours. Appreciate
Homegrown, Lomita. Somebody tried to say that I was from another parish. I'm like, no, I'm St. Margaret Mary, So
there you go, through and through. Thanks,
right.
Ricky. Okay, Matt.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this first episode, and we are looking forward to many more episodes. We have some great guests lined up for what we're calling our inaugural season, but we hope you enjoy this, and it's going to be a really, really fun time.
We need a reunion of the 830 choir, man.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Bye.